All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025 executive meeting. My name is Scott Meyer. I'm starting the meeting. Chairman Kramer will be here shortly. He's on his way. He's a few minutes out. So in respect of everybody's time, and since we have another county board meeting after this, we'll get things underway. So first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. We have a motion to approve. Second. Motion made and seconded to approve the previous meeting's minutes. Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. The minutes are approved. Item number 2, strategic plan presentation for 2025 through 2027. County Executive, are you going to kick this off?
Kick it off.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman Meyer, supervisors, at home audience. Always want to say that. Anyhow, I wanted to take a minute to reflect on our county board visioning session that we had earlier this year. The session was about stepping back and asking some big picture questions, mostly of you. What do we want our county to look like in years ahead? What matters most to us? What kind of county do we want to build together? To walk us through the key insights, our facilitator that night from that session, I'm going to turn over to Byron Dean, Acting Finance Director. When he's done presenting those insights, I'll be back up to finish to wrap up. So Byron?
Thank you. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Travis is passing out the memo now. It's the memo is the results of the vision session. Just a quick recap. The vision session was held on April 30th to inform the 2026 budget and strategic priorities for the county. 14 of 21 supervisors were in attendance and participated, and they submitted and voted on ideas across 4 categories, priority categories: service, operations, capital, and cost cutting. In addition to the results from that exercise, and so just to jog your guys' memory, for each of those priority categories, you put ideas on large pieces of paper and then voted on each one of those ideas. We tallied those votes up. In addition, I pulled the transcripts and also did a thorough review on the transcripts to match the what was voted on versus some of the conversation in the room as well, to make sure that the ideas and the priorities were well informed by both the votes and the underlying transcript or conversation around it. And there's strong alignment across those groups, the votes and the conversation from the transcript, which we had hoped so. And it shows a clear consensus of priority areas. Their analysis strengthens the results of the memo that you're being presented with tonight. So some of the key priority themes identified for the service group: supervisors prioritized mental health, family support, and public safety. These were the most mentioned and most voted on themes. Under the operation category, emphasis was placed on workforce retention, cybersecurity, staff training, and internal efficiencies. For capital, roads, parks, campgrounds, and public-facing infrastructure emerged as core investment ideas. And for the cost-cutting category, standout themes were third-party evaluations and linking funding to measurable results. So when we look at the underlying themes for the exercise, there was a holistic community support, especially for vulnerable populations, investing in modern infrastructure, both physical and digital, to support growth, emphasis on accountability, performance, and reasonable and responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars. So some of the recommendations for actions are to prioritize integrated services models for mental health, family services, and public safety. Invest in internal system modernizations where it's cost effective, practical, and efficiencies can be gained. Continue capital improvements that support economic development and public satisfaction, and institutionalize evaluation mechanisms to link performance and funding. So overall, the session provided a well-aligned foundation for the 2026 budget and the county strategic planning process. The session ensures the county board's voice is directly embedded in the path forward. Thank you.
So the vision session helped surface several consistent themes that Byron just went through. We heard clearly that this board values strengthening mental health and family support services, addressing 911 and public safety infrastructure, investing in workforce and technology modernization, improving roads and parks, and being disciplined in how we evaluate programs and align funding with results. Believe me, right now they're going through the budget process, and there's more than a little stomach acid going through and evaluating everything that's going on right now. Today, I want to share how these priorities didn't just inform our budget discussions, they helped shape our strategic plan. This plan was built collaboratively, grounded in a vision initiated by former County Executive Jonathan Delagrave and carried forward by this board and our department leaders. It outlines where we're going and how we plan to get there. If this plan is successful, and it will be, we should achieve the following together: continuity of government, ensuring consistent service delivery and operational stability through any challenge, including changes in staffing or leadership. Just over a year, there's been 4 different county executives, to give you an idea on the change that everybody went through here in Racine County. Workforce and critical services, retaining and supporting people doing the work, especially in critical life-saving roles across public safety and human services. Reliable infrastructure, modernizing roads, parks, and public safety systems to meet evolving needs, support long-term growth, strengthen our business corridors, and expand access to quality, affordable housing. That's something I've been championing with our CEDC. And it remains in critically short supply. And alignment and accountability, turning goals into action through planning, evaluation, shared priority, ensuring resources and decisions are aligned for maximum impact and transparency. At the foundation of this plan is financial sustainability. Every priority is linked to long-term responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars, making sure we align funding with outcomes and evaluate what's truly making a difference. We'll be unveiling the full plan in the months ahead, including how it connects to budget, operations, and the county's day-to-day work. For now, I want to thank you for your leadership in helping to shape this vision and for your continued commitment to building a strong future of Racine County. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other presenters? Do we have any questions for either one of the presenters, for Byron or for the county executive? Questions, comments? Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, County Executive and Finance Director Dean. I was here at that night, and I guess one concern I have is the lack of a focus on some of the areas that can produce revenue for the county. So during the sales tax conversation, we talked about how the only way that we can increase our levy is through net new construction. And I think the county executive focused on some of those things like housing, but I think there should be a greater emphasis on things like roads, which provides for the economic development in the county. So thank you.
County executive.
We did include roads and infrastructure as part of that. And I brought that up just a little bit ago. So we did include that in there. We do participate with RCEDC in business loans, and we've had several opportunities to try and stimulate growth from that avenue as well. So your point is taken and it's being acted on.
Okay, thank you.
And just to kind of foreshadow like what the operational plan will look like that the team's been looking at, we will be focused on like sewer PEC, our CDC strategic plan, and helping use that to inform and guide us into some of those areas for the priorities, but we're just not there yet.
All right, thanks.
It is a developing, growing plan, so it's a living thing right now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think what I'd like to do is maybe just put out there something that I know I put out there when we originally had the brainstorming session, so to speak. And I want to echo what Supervisor Preisker just said about revenue generation. What I see in the entire plan speaks specifically to current operational components. Now, that includes capital and obviously all of the aspects that are in here. But when I heard, or when we talked about it initially, I think the number was almost 70% of our county's budget goes to public safety, between the sheriff's department, the jail, and so on and so forth, which only leaves a very, very, very small component that could achieve quote unquote cost reductions, unless we believe there's bigger numbers in that 70 that we can take away. And so my thought process was, how do we come up with ways to be more, and I used the term tourism, obviously, during our original meeting. How do we come up with ways to generate additional revenues for the county? Because if I remember also correctly, we were facing down, and I'll round numbers off, we were facing a negative situation of something like 15 or $16 million. We were going to be picking up, we hope, 17 to $20 million because of the sales tax, but that was at real day number or real time numbers. So those numbers going forward could either work for us or they could work against us.
True.
So we find ourselves basically in a situation where we're still cost neutral, which is not a good position to be in because these expenses are only going to continue to go up. So I think the ability for us to find, maybe focus additionally on how we can generate additional revenues to the county, whatever that may look like, would be something that it's not, I don't see it in here. It doesn't mean it's not a part of the ongoing process that we're talking about, but it certainly doesn't jump off the page when it comes to my thought process of revenue generation. So for what it's worth, I wanted to share that side to certainly echo what Supervisor Preisker was talking about on revenues.
I can tell you that our data and analytics department, Travis, is out beating the bushes every day on what's available out there, what we can apply for grants and things of that nature. Again, we're working with RCEDC on different projects to get more net new construction in here, including housing. So that is a focus as well. So we'll build out what you got tonight is the bones. We'll build the meat on the bones as well with those things in mind. Sure.
Supervisor Wish.
Thank you. I know it's probably a little early because it's only been a few months, but do we have any track record on how the sales tax is doing? Are we ahead, behind? Where do you think we are?
We do, and right now it's looking to be on projection. I believe Supervisor Rossi's been working different spreadsheets, and we've got Travis looking at the data as well, and Byron. We won't have a real good picture till August when we get some quarterly numbers in as well.
I'm assuming, I don't like assuming anything, but right now would be the peak, I would think, between now and the end of August. Because once you hit the fall, you're losing tourism pretty much. I don't think, because you're getting into the winter months. Right now, I would think it would be the strongest opportunity. Is that anticipated?
We're trending like the other counties did, and we're actually a little bit ahead, correct, Supervisor Ernie Rossi? I'm calling on him because he really dug into it.
Right
now, if the data holds, we're trending a little bit better than Kenosha. So we're right above Kenosha's revenue stream.
Thank you.
Sure.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank the county executive for continuing this initiative, which he indicated started with Jonathan Delagrave. This is really a good tool for us to evaluate what we do and where we spend our money. While I certainly agree with supervisors who have called for increase in revenue by building up our economy, I think that was the point. I just want to make sure some statements get corrected. If you look at the budget summary, criminal justice and courts is 22% of the budget. I think you might have been transposing levy spending versus overall spending. Our largest category is human services at 28%. And public works is 14, but criminal justice and courts is not 80%, it's 22%.
It is the most impactful part of the levy. Yes.
Any other questions? Comments?
Comment.
Supervisor Spencer.
My understanding is that Health and Human Services is having a budget hearing next week.
Yes.
Okay, I'll plan to attend that.
I believe that's Monday night.
Sure.
Monday night.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up on that,
Sure.
that is a function of state law. Every county must have a public hearing on the human services budget. So that's why, and it's totally independent of our fall county budget, but that's why that's occurring.
So it's more of an opportunity for the public to come in and express what they would like to see than it is to discuss the things that are going to be.
Hope is also putting together a presentation as well.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, County Executive and staff for a fine presentation. I think it's great that everyone's been involved. I always use the word collaboration, and for you to involve all the decision makers from the legislative branch and also, judicial, whatever, because everything has got something to do with something, either directly or indirectly. So thank you for that initiative. And when the time comes and we're looking at the budget, everyone will be involved and hopefully, not hopefully, do have input. And we can hopefully put something together that the citizens of a wonderful Racine County can be proud of. So thank you very much, sir.
That's our goal.
And supervisors.
Any other comments, questions? I have to apologize. I got a little late and I got behind a tractor. So I had a country backup there. I want to thank the county executive and the staff and also the supervisors for going down this trail, because if you don't have a roadmap, you don't know where you're going to go and how to get there. Because if you don't have some priorities and vision, 21 of us may not be here in 5 years, but boards and county executives can build on that. And I want to thank all for participating. Any other comments or questions? Motion to adjourn? All right, we are adjourned. All right, good evening, everybody. I'm calling to order the county board meeting for July 22nd, 2022. And if the clerk could call the order, roll.
Supervisor Coleman is joining us virtually, and Supervisor Kelly is excused. All of the rest of the county board supervisors are in the chambers.
Thank you. And would Supervisor Spencer lead us in the opening prayer?
Yes, this evening for the prayer, I invited Pastor Darren Utley from First Presbyterian Church in downtown Racine. His church honors Racine County's history as a former Underground Railroad site that hid and protected escaped slave Joshua Glover. And Pastor Utley, in his consistent work on justice-driven issues, is someone that I highly respect. So please welcome him.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we pause at the beginning of this meeting to set aside our personal ambitions, to set aside our political motivations, to set aside all that might distract us from the responsibilities and the call that you place on each of our lives. We thank you for those who have taken these leadership positions, who gather in this room today. We ask that as they deliberate, they would remember the vast beauty of our county, the water, the farmland, all that we have been given stewardship over, and all that they take responsibility as our representatives to steward well for us. We take time to remember the depth and breadth of your love for each citizen of this county, your desire for their flourishing. We ask that each person here and all of us remember your desire for them to know love, safety, peace, and goodness in their lives. As we turn to the business of the day, let us never forget the responsibility we hold to your greater call on our lives. Amen.
Do we have any public comments? Does anybody in the audience want to make a public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 4. Capital projects presentation on the radio system implementation of the Public Safety Center and Behavioral Health Building. Like we've got Director Otto, Director.
Oh, it is on, sorry. I'll just get us kicked off here. So we will be collectively, our administrative team here is going to do a presentation on the capital projects and the philosophy behind them. But we also have call it the row of experts in the back of both project management, architectural design, and construction, if there are further questions in our presentation. So I'll turn it over. Are you going first, Jackie? For the first capital project.
Director Bratz, go ahead.
All right, Jackie Bratz, the 911 Center. So I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a project timeline overview. So about the radio system project. In the fall of 22, following County Executive Delagrave's prioritization of replacing the aging system, we began research and planning for this project. Moving on to the next portion of that was selecting a contractor to help us with those technical aspects of the system that we are not experts on. So federal engineering was contracted to help identify those needs that we have, along with helping us write to the RFP to select a vendor. Motorola was awarded this project as our selected vendor in May of 24 after that RFP process. Then about a year ago, $23 million was approved by you guys, the county board, and approved to move forward for the funding for this project. And since then, we have been working on the construction of this new radio system countywide, and it's scheduled to be completed in Q4 of 2026. So moving on to a little bit of the project overview. So it's to modernize the emergency radio network. So currently we have 3 different systems throughout the county that are being operated on for public safety. So this is to consolidate some of that and move to one uniform system that we'll all be operating on. I think I covered pretty much all of that. So it's just like we mentioned, the countywide scope. This is addressing public safety, so law enforcement, fire, EMS. It's also including corrections, transit, public health, and the public works. So all of Racine County being on the one uniform system. Okay, so that will be the WIPSN system. So 4 areas of the system are the infrastructure, mobile and portable radios, the staffing of the system, and the maintenance and updates throughout the next several years of this system. So moving on to the budget breakdown, again, it was a $23 million project. As you can see by the slide up there, 11 million of that is for equipment alone. So that's leaning forward to help the municipalities that we serve to be able to have radios to get on the new system with. So currently, like I mentioned, we have the 3 different systems that we operate on. So many of the municipalities that we serve in a public safety aspect, and as well as transit and public health, will not have the means necessary to be able to purchase all of those radios. So we're, with your generosity and vote, moving forward with leaning in on helping them to be on the new system. So significant milestones that we've covered to date, we completed the detailed design review, which was going through the entire system and kind of outlining exactly how that will look countywide. We completed the first system functional test that was done mid-March. We completed the first review of the local inventory. So some of that inventory was shipped locally, which is already complete and just waiting for installation. And we did complete an on-site visit to the WIPSN core network, which is essentially a IT housing facility that's completely secure, which will house the core that our system will be operating on. So the next slide is just covering some of the next steps toward the implementation. So we'll be completing and finalizing some of the civil engineering at each of the sites. The microwave system is also another component that they're finalizing plans for. So that's connecting all of the connection from all of the sites, talking back to each other site and making sure that there's redundancy built in. Project coordination between our partner agencies. So, and along with that is the training and implementation team. So we've formed a training and implementation team, which is made up of members of each of the fire, rescue, and transit, health department. All of our partner agencies will be part of this training and implementation team. It'll outline and design how the system will be used countywide from a user perspective. And then we have been having ongoing quarterly stakeholder meetings, which will continue throughout the project. And that was a very quick overview. So at that, if there's any specific questions I can help with.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jackie, currently I believe we have backup collaboration with the city of Racine.
We do currently use the City of Racine Police Department former dispatch center as our backup center.
So what, with the new system, what will be the backup provisions?
So for our backup center moving forward, part of the public safety project is reutilizing some of the EOC, the current EOC, and that will become our new backup facility. So we'll bring our backup facility back to in-house property. So it'll be in a portion of what's currently the EOC. Some of that will be reconstructed, remodeled, and that'll be a backup center for us to use. Mhm.
Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Supervisor Miller asked one question, but I do have one left. That being, and maybe I blinked my eye or something. I have my ears plugged up. Is all 16, 17 municipalities involved in this?
Yes.
I know there was a couple we were waiting for. That was, I think it was Burlington or,
Nope, they're all part of
and
it.
then there was one more, but you don't have to.
Yeah, yep,
but
it's
every-
countywide. Everyone's included, yep.
and
And they've all been at the table for the stakeholder meetings.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Supervisor Cole.
On the equipment side, I can't remember, there was talk last year about some of the municipalities didn't pay us back from the first radio when we all merged. So when you say we're chipping in to pay for more equipment, are they on a payback program with us? Or are we just letting some of these municipalities just keep taking advantage of generosity?
No, they entered into an agreement, I forget what year it was, 2017 or 2018. They entered into an agreement at that time to purchase those radios through a low interest loan through the county. So some of them are still paying that back, but we've made it clear that they need to continue that portion of the agreement, and this is a totally separate endeavor. Yeah, yep.
Supervisor Horth.
Yeah, it might have been a similar question, but the municipalities themselves, a moment ago, you said they've all been at the table. So each town, a village, or what have you, city, doesn't matter. Each have had a representative there?
Yeah,
Or-
so members of user agency departments have all been at the table. So, the police department, there's been a police department representative, a fire department representative, and I'm forgetting exactly when it was, but we also sat down with the health department, the transit systems, the DPWs.
And have expenses been discussed previously as to what to expect now going forward? I know things have been established previously, but what should be expected in their budgets or what have you going forward?
Yep, so we are working on getting out some handouts to them that will have the exact radio price on them. However, like I mentioned, leaning forward, the county is paying for those radios upfront in order for them to get onto the system. Obviously, they would have some additional ongoing costs beyond that as far as repair and whatnot. There are maintenance fees and things like that are being discussed as far as future costs to those municipalities, but those have not been shared or even ironed out yet at this point.
And Jackie, this is a very selfish question only for our district, and that is that we are currently in a big transition state in Waterford with regards to police.
Right.
And so maybe I can reach out to you separately and find out a little more about who's been there representing the conversation, because I really would like to make sure that both the town and then the village board is being made aware of exactly what's being discussed. I'm
Absolutely.
sure they are. I take nothing for granted, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions on the enhanced 911 system? Well, thank you.
No problem.
Who-
Chairman.
Oh, Ernie, Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. Just.
One more question.
I'm just curious as how the the facilities budget is tracking right now, this design matching with what we're looking at.
For the radio project?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, thus far, in fact, Dan's been handling, actually, come back up, Dan. Dan's been handling kind of the finance end of that, so tracking as far as the costs.
Yeah,
and
so-
more of a credit.
For those in the room that don't know me, my name's Dan Adams. I'm the project manager for the radio project and the public safety building. I'm a retired captain with the sheriff's office, retiring about a year ago. I came on board last fall and have been with ever since. In response to your question, yes, the radio project is tracking accordingly. It's within budget. Barring any major surprises, it continues to track that way. So, yes.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Retired Captain Adams.
Thank you. So I'll give a brief overview of the Public Safety Center. obviously, it was approved by this board last summer about this time for a new public safety center to house the sheriff's office, 911 dispatch, emergency operations, and emergency management. Project timeline, as I stated, funding approval was completed by this board last July. Once the funding approval was completed, the county then moved to planning and design through an RFP process. Through that, the county selected Gilbane as the construction firm and Ramlo Stein and Trenner as our architectural firm for the planning of the public safety building, which is ongoing. Construction start date, site preparation and construction. It was determined that the site would in fact be at the existing site, which is Ives Groves, and is scheduled to begin in the spring of 2026, with the facility opening by year end 2027. So a little bit about the current public safety building. I can speak to this intimately. Our existing patrol station was built in the late 70s, early 80s. It has long since met its operational needs. It's not large enough. I could go on and on, but essentially it does not meet the needs of the modern sheriff's office or dispatch or our emergency services. Emergency management is currently housed downtown in the LAC, along with our emergency operations center. So as part of this project, building that public safety building will bring some of that together and make it more of an integrated public safety campus, bringing in the 911 center, the sheriff's office operations, emergency management, and bringing the primary Racine County Emergency Operations Center out to the Ives Grove campus. Through the process, and we'll get into this in just a moment in the next slide, but the design for the public safety center, we have taken into account efficiencies as well as future needs and future growth for the county and the sheriff's office overall. So as I stated, the core areas of the new public safety building, the sheriff's office operations portion, the 911 dispatch center will be housed there as it currently is. Racine County Emergency Management will move out to this location, and the Racine County Emergency Operations Center will move from, which is currently located downtown at the LAC, will move out to that location as well. So those will be the core areas of the public safety center once it's built. Approved by this board, as I stated last summer, $40 million budget for the project. $33,650 has been designated directly to the construction portion of this project, with the other just over $6 million soft costs, if you will, for owner reserve, contingency, site surveys, furniture, equipment, things of that nature. So significant milestones to date. We've been working diligently, both with our architects and the Gilbane team, identifying, specifically with the architects, identifying functional and space needs of the public safety center. We did, as I stated early on, there was considerations for some potential offsite locations. After review, it was determined it was in the best interest of the county and the most efficient for the county to have the campus at the current location here at Ives Groves. Through this process, we've gone back and forth to the drawing board multiple times to identify efficiencies within our construction and stay within budget. We have reduced square footage. We've spoken with our builders and the architects regarding some prefab materials that will save some dollars to keep us within that budget. Modular metal buildings, garages, things of that nature. We will be remodeling the existing patrol station that currently exists. We will be reusing the pole building that currently exists, and this will be a one-phase construction project. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but that we identified some potential efficiencies and cost savings there as well. And then the final portion, we've been now working in the schematic designs, working into the schematic designs and really dialing in the design of the public safety building. This has been ongoing for almost a year now, back and forth. But we're starting to have smaller meetings with the HVAC experts, electrical, IT, plumbing, et cetera. So we're starting to get down a little bit into the nuts and bolts of this versus the high level overview that we've been doing for the past 6 to 8 months. So phase one construction, as I stated, all of our staff out here are currently operating out of the patrol station as it exists. Prior to groundbreaking, all staff is going to be moved out to existing county locations to make this a one-phase project to renovate the existing patrol station and begin construction on the new portion of the public safety building, doing it in a one-phase manner versus a two-phase. We identified as more efficient and again, keeps us within our budget. For the duration of the project, a vast majority of the sheriff's office 911 staff will be displaced to some degree. Some of those details, just preemptively, should there be any questions or anything related to that, those would be better served to maybe offline, reach out to the chief deputy of the sheriff's office. But it is a one-phase construction, and that is how we intend to move forward. As I stated, we're working with architectural and construction partners, completing that final design and dialing it in, for lack of a better term, and making sure the building meets our operational needs and remains cost effective. Again, as I stated, spring of 26, site prep and construction anticipated to begin. And then a final point is the radio project that Director Bratz just spoke of. That project, along with this public safety building project, is imperative for a number of reasons. I won't bore you with all the details, but they obviously stay in line with each other as far as timelines, related to timelines, as we are building a new 911 operations center and implementing a new countywide radio system. So we're very cognizant of that. We have been from the very beginning. Our partners, both on the Motorola side and Gilbane and our architects have been really good partners with us, keeping that in mind through the duration of both of these projects. And with that, I'll entertain any questions that the board may have.
Supervisor Caprellian.
Thank you. Retired Captain Adams, could you just dig into what you just said right there? Because I remember Jackie had stated that the project was going to be done Q4 of 2026. And you did say Motorola, and you mentioned you're getting into the nuts and the bolts with tech and the building design. So talk a little bit more in depth about that timing, because you did mention this is all to be complete at the end of 2027.
Right. So the radio project is slated for completion towards the end of 2026. And the public safety building, when I say completed, everything tested out, they're working functionally out of the building by the end of 2027. All things considered, we'd like to be in sooner than that. So although they might not line up to the day, some of the things that'll come with the two integral parts are the 911 center and the radio project lining up. So the construction of that center and some of the things that are needed and the questions need to be answered for the center itself. Some of the other parts of that public safety building, the emergency operations center, the sheriff's operational portion of the building, aren't as integral to the radio system. So although the projects may be a little bit off on the timeline and they're not going to be to the day, that is okay, because those two pieces are the two really integral pieces, the 911 center itself and the radio project.
I was just going to add, so we'll be at the backup center, like, Supervisor Miller had asked where we would operate out of our backup center. We will be at the backup center for a portion of time. Once that additional backup center is constructed in what will be the former EOC, we will then move there, and all of the new radio system equipment for the backup center will be installed already. We will move to that location to start testing of the new system. That's where we will be when the radio system goes online. The installation of the new radio system equipment in the new patrol station building, that will come a little bit later, and we'll move into that a little bit later. We've talked with Motorola about that, and that was a no or very low cost change to the project. So that is how that will kind of all work out. But I realized why that would come up as a question.
Yes, and so the integration of all these new systems will not be happening in the current location. So we won't be having to fit into that. We're fitting into the new, which is great. Yep. Okay. There was just a year difference timeline, but I got you. Thank you.
Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess I was under the impression that we were looking at alternative sites than the current location. So I guess how did you come back to the current Ives Grove's location, and then where will this structure be, or are there any plans for the project that we could see?
There were two alternative sites that were looked at. There was one location east of the interstate, and there was also later on in the conversation, the county has some property across Spring Street that was looked at. From a design perspective, a cost perspective, especially as it relates to the property that the county owns across Spring Street, just the development of that property to get the building within there. It really came down to dollars and cents, both locations. So it just made more sense as the discussion went on to keep things within the budget, to go with this existing location and to go with a renovation of the existing building, and then just a potential add-on. It really, that's what it came down to, is dollars and cents.
Okay, so this is essentially an addition and remodel of the existing facility?
Correct. Complete, for lack of a better term, gutting out that facility, a remodel, and the new building. And if I may, from my perspective, we did look at, the county did look at other locations. The Ives Grove campus, in my opinion, is the best location for the sheriff's office based on my experience. So it was financially the responsible thing to do. And in my opinion, logistically, it's good for the county as well.
Okay, thanks.
Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Retired Captain Adams, thank you for your update. I am curious about the architectural plans. You have mentioned them 2 or 3 times in your presentation. Where are we with them? When will they be for viewing for the county board so we can have comments on them? And what do they look like?
So I don't know.
Yes, I see our architect in the back there.
So
I mean, I like to see the plans. I mean, I know the architect has done other work for the county, and
right.
I'd like to see the continued growth.
So as I indicated early on, we're in the schematic design phase, getting really into dialing in the final architectural design. There will be more updates to this body as we move further forward. I would anticipate we would have some of that information for you, rather than bringing it to you now and saying, well, this could change, or we quite haven't got to this point yet. This might look different. We're not quite there yet, but once we have gotten to that point, exactly. And certainly if the plan is to break ground in spring, it would be before then.
Yeah, you don't have a timeline then as far as a viewing of the 95% completed plans?
It would be between now and before groundbreaking. So and if you hold me to it, I'll deny it.
No, I may.
It's I would say late fall.
Okay, here he comes. He's gonna comment. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm being told they'll have them for the next quarterly update.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you very much. Like that.
Quick question, retired Captain Adams. How much bigger expansion is it on the footprint of the current building out there?
So
roughly, I mean, obviously things could change, but
yeah, the current building is about 30,000, 30,000, and it's about double that.
Okay.
When it's all said and done. It'll
done.
double the size of our existing footprint. That doesn't necessarily include all the outbuildings for the prefab buildings and stuff, but as far as the footprint.
Of the existing building, okay. Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. Question on the contingency, I think it was 6.4 or something around there. Or not the contingency, total soft costs, including contingency. How much of that is actual contingency?
So at this point, we haven't gotten to where we've, for lack of a better, the owner's budget, like how many dollars are going towards furniture, how many dollars are going to X, Y, and Z. So that's a difficult question to answer at this time. But again, that we can have that for you, the next quarterly update.
Yeah. Thank you. Next question then, what are the current soft costs, architectural, obviously just soft costs at that point?
So how much at this point?
Yes.
I don't have that number in front of me. We can get it for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening. So I have, yeah, I know. I have with me here the Assistant Administrator, Natalie Meinert, who not only helps oversee the largest division within Human Services, but also oversees quality assurance and compliance, which is a critical piece for this project as we need to adhere to Division of Quality Assurance as well as DHS guidelines for our new build. So she's here to answer any questions and give a little bit more of an intimate guideline on how that fed the design of our project. So this facility is targeted to address our current behavioral health and substance abuse needs, but also look into the future for future challenges that we anticipate. It brings together all of our crisis care services, as well as our existing substance use and treatment services and protection services, all in one purpose-built space. The design emphasizes function, safety, and access, and hopefully will achieve efficiencies on delivering care efficiently for the future. Next, please. I could talk a little bit more. So the key services, just to talk a little bit more, I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding because we're talking, you can go back, Travis, sorry, a misunderstanding about what the scope of the new facility is going to bring. We are not expanding on existing mental health services, but we are hoping that we will achieve efficiencies and be able to have improved access for our partners. So streamlined support and being able to have a single point of contact, whereas now we have disparate locations that is challenging for both law enforcement and community partners to be able to access on Dominic Drive. By locating under one roof, I think we're doing more of what we have and utilizing existing programs, but we're also doing service expansion in the residential and substance abuse area. And that's something that the state has given us in a form of a grant in order to achieve those services. And we'll let Natalie talk a little bit more about that.
Now you go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so talking about what will this building look like, we are getting very close to actually seeing this. So this is the exterior of the building. We took a lot of time to look at how this will fit into the rest of the neighborhood using a very welcoming and inviting space for workers and the community alike to come to. So if you look at the building, we're going to be splitting it up. If you think about it in thirds, is that 1/3 of the building will be our SAIL program, which is our crisis hostel where people who are having a mental health crisis can come spend the night. The other third is going to be our SUD residential facility where people will be able to receive 24/7 substance abuse treatment. And then that middle section will be where our case management, crisis, APS, mobile response, crew, et cetera, programs are all going to be housed. So the rest of behavioral health services. The only thing remaining at Taylor then will be our outpatient clinic. Next. Delay.
That's okay.
So again, this is what people will see when they walk into the lobby. Again, looking at that welcoming, inviting space for community members and staff alike. When you walk in to Dominic right now, I don't know if, I think everybody might have been there. It's not like this. It's sad in comparison. So I think our staff and our community members are looking forward to being in a place that also represents the integral and important work that we're doing. And this is just the first step of it, a first look at it. So this is an example. This is one of the renderings of what our SAIL day room will look like. You can see that we have where the blonde woman is tossing her hair will be the SAIL staff area. So that's where people can be answering the phones, working on notes, monitoring the people who are at the facility, also interacting with them in the main area there, which where people will have recreation time, eat meals. Behind the glass will be an outdoor space for people to get some fresh air. And beyond that will be group rooms where we run several groups a day to teach people skills, link them to resources, and help ameliorate kind of whatever is going on for them, for whatever brought them in that day. And then all of those along the wall will be the bedrooms. This will be a 15-bed facility. Next. Sorry.
Come on.
Come on, Travis. Okay. And then,
It's the clicker.
so this will be, on the second floor, we'll have a community/conference room for whatever we need. So we need large meeting rooms for people to hold team meetings, staff meetings, county board meetings can go in here, community partners can come in and rent the space to use for their meetings. Again, making it a welcoming place for everybody in Racine County to be able to utilize should they need to.
And just to add to that, you know, having a dedicated community space really is demonstrating our commitment to that ongoing community collaboration and teaming model. And we know that behavioral health is an integral part to all of human services. And so we really need that space to invite both the community partners, and our existing team to be able to meet. We don't really have a lot of functional meeting space at this time. So moving on in the project timeline, like many projects, this has been underway for many years. We started in 2020 with a needs assessment that looked at the current demand for integrated services. And we found that the opportunity really presented itself well with ARPA dollars. And underneath the previous county executive, we were able to allocate those dollars with the support of the board, you know, at the front of this, and ensuring that that was a key part to be able to support this project. In addition, we had opioid settlement dollars. And so the braiding of those two funds, along with borrowing, was able to make this a project that was minimizing the impact on taxpayers. Groundbreaking occurred in May, as many of you participated in, and the construction is actively underway. One of the more important things that we've learned from our previous project with the Youth Development and Care Center is the transition time. And we know how important it is to be able to invest in the transition of staff and into a new philosophy, and incorporating both the substance abuse end and the mental health end into one roof, and how that will mirror the trainings and upskilling of our staff. And one of the important pieces of this is that we are eliminating an obligation that we have of right now $300,000 in rent to a location that I would dare say is not worth even close to that amount. And those rates do raise every year, and we're investing in a facility that is not really worth the investment. Moving on, well, the opening timeline, we're hoping to have in the end of 2026, but likely late fall. As you can see here, this is the aerial photography of what we have to date. We have completed site demolition, all of our serving, earthwork, footings are underway, the foundations on the west side and the perimeter of the building are complete. And now we are preparing for underground utility work. And yet this summer, we are looking to complete the footings, build the elevator shaft walls, start steel erection on the west side of the building. So a lot of work yet to do this year. Next. And as I mentioned previously, we are braiding together multiple funds and able to support this project. We did have additionally a grant that Travis Richardson has wrote to Tammy Baldwin's office for appropriation of $5 million to the project. It had been approved, but it's currently on hold. We are still hopeful that that money will help to offset some of the expenses for this, but in the event that it doesn't, we already have a built-in plan for that. So the total project is $37 million. Next. So similar to the previous projects, we identified functional and space needs. We built in a cushion for expansion, just because we know that with population growth, that proportionally there will be need for support of both mental health and substance abuse services. We're adding in, we estimated probably about an additional 10,000 square feet to our current footprint. And we have a pretty I would say advanced design where we'd be able to use shared workspace and things that the growth could happen within our existing area as well. And we still have some of Taylor Avenue that we have yet to configure into the overall space analysis for the county. Mentioned before, the $300,000 in savings is something that we're now reinvesting in paying ourselves, and our AMSO or administrative overhead goes into our overall operations. I'm working with technical experts, and our project manager, Gary Suko, is helping to support to ensure that we're on budget and on time, and helping to provide some of that technical expertise on behalf of the administrative team here. And we did receive state approval, and much to the great work that Natalie and her team did, ensuring that we're in compliance with the regulations for that. So we are moving forward and really excited about the new project, and so is the team. So yeah, the other piece to this that I haven't mentioned, I think, is just about strengthening community partnerships and making sure that everybody's aware of what this facility will be and educating and informing them, that we are not an inpatient facility. We are not replacing the work of our hospital partners, but we are helping with diversion and step down from in and out of institutions and hospital care and helping to prevent individuals from going in the first place. So making sure that people are aware of the services we offer and helping to serve people in the community and where we're at, and improving those relationships so we're serving people better. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions? Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for a fine presentation. I just have a quick question, because I don't know all the nuts and bolts, but with the building of this behavioral health building and things it's going to do there, what happens if Racine County runs out of space? I don't know, we work with Milwaukee, Kenosha, or that ain't going to happen, because I know somewhere it's about 24/7 that you're offering services 24/7. And I was just wondering if we got plan A, B, and C in place.
I think in fact, I feel confident that with the remodeling of the 4th floor of Taylor Avenue, we will have ample space to be able to accommodate service expansion into the foreseeable future. Additionally, there is some considerations, and I've had some conversations with the county executive and chairman about whether or not some work that has been primarily shifted to pure telework, like for example, our economic support division is one of the only counties right now that is still working in a hybrid model. Some are working at 100% telework. We've sort of held back on that because of some of the trainings and, just workplace culture we feel is improved by having as much, face-to-face interaction. But that is something we'd also be able to consider. That's about 50 or 60 staff that we'd be able to potentially shift into telework. So there's a lot of, that would be plan B. And there's probably even a C after that, but I highly doubt we'd ever get to that point.
You can call some off the bench.
Yeah. Okay.
Hope, could I?
Yeah, please.
Just to clarify one thing. So and perhaps this was part of Supervisor Shakur's question, but insofar as we're talking about potential expansion and it relates to bed space specifically, it might be helpful for you or Natalie to address that both on the SUD side and also on the sales side. That these constraints are not a function of limitations of the space or the property or budget even. They're really driven by
statute.
Statute and administrative rule.
Yeah, thank you. We cannot exceed 15 beds for either.
No, it puts us into a different category of licensure for the state. We become what's called an Institute of Mental Disease at that point, which requires more like hospital regulations. So, yeah, thank you.
Currently, it's a CBRF, but is that kind of the designation?
Kind of. So it's under a 75/45 or 54, excuse me, licensure. So previous to the reworking of 75, it used to be a CBRF license. They don't require you to do that, but you still have to follow all the same rules. You still need to call it a CBRF.
The other side is a CBRF, though. The substance abuse residential treatment side is a CBRF.
So in the $37 million, I know at the time last year, we were going to white box the 4th floor on Taylor Avenue. Is that part of the 37 million, or
no?
Refresh my memory on that.
No.
Okay, it's not. Okay.
That'll be a request that is put into the capital budget for 2026.
Okay.
Preliminary RFP.
Did we approve the bonding on that at that time, or do we just do the 37? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't recall at the moment.
We can look that up.
Okay.
Anyways, when we get into the substance abuse side, how many beds is that?
15.
15. Okay, good. And you talked about a grant coming from the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah. So
is that a grant, or is it in the budget funding?
Budget funding.
Okay, so it was in the 26 budget.
When did they do the substance abuse change for being able to bill at that rate? Maybe 2023?
Yeah.
It's,
been a
it's,
couple years.
it's more of a billing change and it's, so I use grant probably in.
Okay, so we're allowed to bill
Yes.
the insurance companies or Medicaid, Medicare?
It's Medicaid. Mhm.
Yeah. All right, so then, I guess, I want to also think, I mean, this project started a long time ago.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, you were part of it, yeah.
yeah, I was part of it. Myself, Hope Otto, Corp Counsel Jonathan, we had numerous conversations with the local area hospital and, we went through numerous scenarios with them, and this is the best scenario that we came up with because the other ones were actually cost more. Can you imagine that? So Supervisor Caprillion.
Thank you. Thanks for the beginning clarification on what this building is going to be utilized for. I'm not even sure I had
know.
quite the right conception of what it is going to be. So it's not expanding services. It's just really taking our services out. The question is, you mentioned that we're going to keep outpatient over at the Taylor Center,
Mhm.
their site. Is because of space, or is there some rationale behind it?
Cost.
Mhm.
Yeah, the footprint on 1720 is just not large enough. We would have to keep going vertical. And we really wanted to have the clinic easily accessible on the first floor as well. And we already put in a decent amount of money and infrastructure into the clinic for nursing space. And it really is so close that the proximity isn't going to be a huge barrier for us.
How much do we cross staff between the outpatient and inpatient and other services? Are we utilizing the same staff for both those services? Are they going to be walking
Yes.
across the street, or do we have separate staff?
Some of the staff will, yes. We'll use some of the staff in the outpatient clinic who will provide therapy and group services for the substance abuse residential. We also will have some standalone staff who won't have to walk across the street, but they're aware of this already.
Thank you.
Supervisor Coleman, can you hear me? You have a question?
Hey, you guys. I was just wondering, how are you guys looking at potentially with Medicaid as far as reimbursement goes? Are we just waiting? Are we playing by ear? Are you guys considering that a factor into what can potentially take place as far as compensation from the Medicaid side?
Mhm. So I think the biggest change, the reimbursement rate in the most simplest sense isn't going to change. The eligibility of participants may, which would affect who's billing and how much we then receive. So people may become less eligible when the changes go into effect, which then would affect our budget. But the actual reimbursement for Medicaid is not set to change, if that makes sense.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. What the right page there. Okay, just same question as it was before. Current costs and what is the contingency amount of the? I think it was 5 and change that you had. 5 point. It was more, just about 6 million.
Do you have any, Byron, or? Yeah.
Soft and construction.
Sure,
Just
absolutely.
curious on the construction.
Yeah, please.
Project is on budget. It's a CM contract on this project with the GMP. The GMP has a built-in contingency for the use of the CM contractor, and Racine County holds a $700,000 owner's reserve for things that are outside of the GMP.
All right, thank you. Since you're here, current any unforeseen difficulties with the project at this point, unknowns?
We will have some contingency expenditures. They're not necessarily unknowns. A good example would be we have soft soils on the site, which is something we knew about before. Gilbane created some allowances built into the GMP for that. In that case, they may not be enough to, I don't know the exact numbers, $25,000 or $50,000 that would transfer over into the owner's reserve. But risk, we have a number of risk factors like that where there are allowances built into the GMP. But again, things that don't fit into that, we have an owner's reserve that we have protected for this purpose.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, maybe just another risk
Sure.
or obstacle that we've had to overcome is, so the design was really finalized and Gilbane as our CM at risk went out to bid on the project for the various contractors at a time of great uncertainty. You'll recall that this was really at the peak of uncertainty as it relates to tariffs and what tariff-related impacts may be. And so a lot of time was spent working through some of those challenges, trying to bring greater certainty to the situation. Gilbane, to their great credit, they polled all of the contractors who had bid before we finalized that GMP to try and get a better grasp of what those potential tariff-related impacts could be. Thankfully, what we learned and what Gilbane found was that those impacts were expected to be considerably less than I think what we reasonably feared and what we've seen, in the marketplace elsewhere for large construction projects. And what I mean by small, I want to say it was around $60,000 to $100,000 or so. But notwithstanding that, we built into the guaranteed maximum price a separate reserve or contingency that is $500,000 for tariff-related impacts specifically, and those need to be validated. There's a pretty exhaustive process that we built into this, whereby any sort of impact that's attributed to tariffs needs to go through a validation process. You're looking at bills of lading and things like that. And in the event that $500,000 is not enough, and again, this is baked into our budget already and baked into that guaranteed maximum price. But in the event that tariff-related impacts exceed that $500,000, what we've ended up structuring with Gilbane, our construction manager at risk, is that they bear that risk because they did that due diligence. They felt comfortable carrying that level of risk. And so it got to a place that I think the county board and the county in general should be proud of, and that we've been able to successfully address and alleviate some of those tariff-related impact concerns.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. Just one thing I was digging through, Director Audi made the claim that there will be some additional costs for the renovations of the Dennis Cornwall Service Center. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm reading from the resolution 2024-23 and be it further resolved, so on and so forth. For the design and construction of the mental health building and renovations of the Dennis Cornwall Service Center, 1717 Taylor Avenue, Racine. Is that a different project?
No, that's the exact same project. The overage of this is hoping to be, the 5 million is hoping to be offset by the Tammy Baldwin dollars. And if it is not, then that's the money that we'll use for that.
Thank you.
I just have a question on the congressional earmarks you're talking about right now. Is that congressional earmarks from I think it was 24-25 or 25-26 budget? There's two different budgets that.
No, I'm sorry, I don't know.
They have two different budgets of earmarks at the congressional level, and currently neither one of them have been released. So is this current or is it a year past?
It's not only current, so for this year's budget, so 2025, but also put in for next year's appropriations bill as well. It did pass the Health and Human Development Committee on the congressional level and did make it to Congress, but as you all may know, that appropriations bill wasn't passed, which from my understanding is pretty unprecedented. So Baldwin's office, somewhat informally, but has made a commitment to continue to support this project until Congress does pass an appropriations bill. So it's in this year's as well as next year's budget.
Okay, so because they're working on in your vernaculars, last year they're still haven't funded some of them this year, and then so
yeah, I know it kind of bleeds over.
Just well, they got them segmented, and they have to go all the way through the process, and county government takes 2 meetings, and federal government takes about 2 million years sometimes to get something like that through. So I just before we need to probably keep pushing on it, and hopefully hopefully they'll have a different attitude about earmarks up in Washington.
Yeah, so just a little more context on the timeline there. To your point, Chairman Kramer, if there's no action taken this year, we would likely hear on an appropriations bill passing in April of 26, and then those funds would be released within a month or two of that. So it'd be looking in the spring of 26.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the earmarks are tricky. They sometimes release them. Town of Burlington got a fire truck last time they released them, I believe. Then, yeah, so. And then just to give a little bit of a background, since this is a new endeavor by us, the substance abuse 24 kind of, when does, I mean, you know, it's not a detox center.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's for people that come out and need a little more help in the interim period of, you know, the gear up.
Thank you.
The-
Yeah.
Why don't you explain that, you know?
Sure. I mean, I'll give a high level, and if you want to like
Sure.
supplement any detail, it is really a sober living environment after somebody is in recovery, and helping with an intensive support case manager to help navigate through reentering back into the community, right? After being in a inpatient detox type facility, and or you know, a step up in lieu of that.
So if you think about like what an average day there would look like, is that everybody who is receiving treatment there is going to be staying there all day from, you know, 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You'll be in either a group or individual treatment session. They will have case managers and peer support to help coach you through any recovery issues that might come up, any resources that you might need in order to be successful once you leave there. The average stay is usually about 30 days, but that can wax and wane depending on what's going on for you. And then during the weekends and on the weekend, you know, the weekends and after hours, then there's AA groups that people can go to, again, peer support to talk with people. Anybody who's staying there is expected to help out with daily chores. You know, you do your own laundry, you help clean up the kitchen, you help make sure everybody else gets fed. It's a communal supportive recovery in that respect.
And it's a voluntary program. Yes, okay. Thank you.
The programs there are, yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, Supervisor Spencer.
On that detox, and thanks for all this. It sounds really. What then is the closest place to go for detox? And would we then be paying a different county rent for that type of space?
There's no other counties that do substance abuse detox. I mean, that's more of a medical aspect. There's only 2 medications, I believe, or 2 drugs that you detox for, and
they do it in the hospital.
Right.
So your insurance would pay for it through a hospital if you choose to do that. Not, yeah, to Dr. Otto's point, there's not a lot of substances that you have to go through detox for.
Alcohol.
So alcohol and like benzos, really, because there's risk of seizure after that, or of death if you don't detox correctly. So.
Okay, and then the other thing on my mind is with the city's new facility going up on Martin Luther King Drive. Are we crossing like services? Are we duplicating any?
No, at the FQHC.
Oh, okay. I don't know which one you're talking about.
The Federally Qualified Health Center. So that those are primarily for Supervisor Caprilli knows primary care. I am assuming are going to have licensed clinical social workers, but usually there's 1 or 2, and it's more about like resource coordination and not long-term therapy or ongoing. So not really like to our facility at all.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Thank you. Item number 6, reading of the minutes of the previous meeting, which is automatically waived unless requested by a majority of the members present. Seeing none. Resolutions and ordinances referred to committee.
There are none.
Introductions of resolutions and ordinance for first reading and referral.
Resolution number 2025-27 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the acceptance of a 2-year grant with the Wisconsin Department of Justice in the amount of $254,794 and transfer within the Human Services Department 2025 budget. And resolution number 2025-28 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing a change of purpose of capital funds from Public Works Maintenance, Gulf Ives Grove parking lot maintenance to HVAC replacement and transfer funds of $15,000 from the capital projects to a newly created capital account for the replacement of the HVAC system.
Item number 9, communications and claims.
Number 1, annual comprehensive financial report regarding the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District's 2024 report from the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. And number 2, legal notice for combined hearing on assessment of benefits and proposed assessment of costs from Racine County Board of Drainage Commissioners.
Items number 1 and 2 are referred to Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee.
Items number 3 through 5 are claims against Racine County, and items number 6 through 24 are notifications from the United States Bankruptcy Court.
Items number 3 through 24 referred to Finance and Human Resources Committee and Corporation Council.
Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I request a copy of 3, 4, and 5, please?
Supervisor Horth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd request a copy of 1 and 2, please.
Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. I would like a copy of number 4 and number 14, please.
Supervisor McReynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Copies of 3, 4, and 5, please.
Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Copy of 2, 3, 4, and 5, please.
Supervisor Kolb.
Copies of 1 and 2, please.
And then I'll take 2, 3, 4, and 5. Any other requests, Supervisor Vice Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 3, 4, and 5.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. 3, 4, and 5.
Any further questions, requests? Seeing none, we'll move on. Communications from the county executive.
There are none on tonight's agenda.
Item number 11, standing committee reports containing recommendations on items referred.
We have no reports.
Second reading of resolutions and ordinances.
We have one item this evening. It is under 2/3 majority vote. That is resolution number 2025-26 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing a multi-year agreement with AE Business Solutions for Nutanix products and services in the amount of $4,362,480.
Motion's been made and seconded. Supervisor Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, in regards to report 2025-26, the contract with AE Business Solutions for the Nutanix products of $4,362,480 is a 5-year agreement. Is this Nutanix product what we need? Yes, it is. And we need it for our Cornwolf building. We need it for the Jonathan Delagrave Development Center. We need it for the existing and future patrol station and the 911 system being implemented in our courthouse. I'd like Michael Lansdorf first to make comments about, to discuss the information that was sent out later this afternoon. And then I'd like to have Sushi and Dave approach, they're already here, I looked up there, to address any questions and get further into the details. So if you could take the mic, Attorney Lansdorf.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. So first, just to acknowledge the unfortunate timing of this. This is not an insignificant budget impact. This is not a particularly simple subject matter. It's highly technical in nature, and so it is a lot, to say the least, to put this on the county board for consideration of such a sizable budgetary impact in such short order. With that chiefly in mind, in the wake of the committee's consideration and approval of the fiscal notes and its passage of that resolution and passing it on to the county board, the county executive directed that myself and finance acting director Byron Dean, that we identify a independent entity to come in and on an expedited basis try to validate if warranted, call into question if warranted the recommendations from the IT department. Again, recognizing the highly complicated subject matter, recognizing that limited time frame within which to review and act upon the proposal, and all of those factors. And so the entity that we ended up bringing in was Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly is an entity that's well known to many on the county board. They wear a number of different hats. They provide a number of different services. One of those services that Baker Tilly provides, and something that we've actually enlisted their help on in recent history, is they have a consultancy arm, a technical consultancy arm. And in the wake of a data loss incident in January of 2024, we brought in that team to review what transpired, identify some systems that perhaps could be improved, policies that could be improved, to better insulate the county from that type of risk and to learn lessons from that process. And so we'd established some of those relationships from that previous project. And so we brought Baker Tilly in to review all of the memorandum, all of the documents that had been brought before the board, additional documentation, to participate in countless meetings with myself and Byron and the IT team and the county executive. Some board leadership have been part of some of these discussions and meetings. And so in really short order, a process that under ideal circumstances, I think would take 6 months to a year, and that would have been part of the 2025 budget itself. We packed in on top of the work that IT had done, just kind of this extra level of validation. And so in that memorandum that you received late this afternoon, and I apologize for the late hour, my goal was to get that to you well before, but there have been so many moving targets on this, and we wanted to be able to stand by the information that was brought before you. So again, I apologize for the late hour, but the intention of that memorandum is really to try and crystallize and highlight some of the key issues that were considered and some of the key takeaways from Baker Tilly's review and the county team's review based on that. Baker Tilly has concluded that independent review, and really what they've confirmed is, one, Nutanix is an appropriate solution for continued use by the county. More likely than not, it would take more than a 12-month period. So I think there was some consideration at the committee level of, well, maybe just a 1-year solution might make sense. What Baker Tilly has validated is that insofar as the county was considering some wholly different platform besides Nutanix, that process of simply identifying, much less than implementing, configuring systems, making sure it aligns with all of the other host of complicated systems and services that the county provides. That's not a simple undertaking and something that would well exceed a 12-month period. They also confirmed that the current critical infrastructure and system dependencies in public safety, and this actually ties in part to the public safety update that you just received, that's given the nature of that. And one of the components is that data center at the Ives Grove, at the substation, will need to be moved during that phase of construction. So roughly a 16 to 18 month period, that data center that's currently housed there will need to be relocated. And given the fact that there are different licenses associated with that data center, with that Nutanix platform, and the others, there is not an insignificant amount of risk and frankly danger associated with transporting that system to a different location while under a different licensure. The implications of that could be significant. And one way, that really the only way of effectively alleviating that risk, is by bringing them under the same license as the rest of the county's Nutanix platform. So that's something that Baker Tilly also validated. And so with some of those findings in mind, Baker Tilly agreed that, again, based on the options that are presently before Racine County, based on the impending expiration of the licensure for the Taylor Avenue and the Ives Grove data centers, that the option that is recommended in the resolution before you this evening, 2025-26, presents the greatest long-term certainty, cost savings, system support to minimize risk of disruption, while also including an additional cost containment measure that's a not to exceed 5% cap for a subsequent 5-year period, should the county wish to avail itself of it. We're under no commitment to do that. Baker Tilly further supports the approach of more transparently, more deliberately exploring the feasibility of any alternative cloud-based solutions that could present some long-term savings. It should be noted that that at the end of the day, after that due diligence, we may find ourselves in precisely the same situation. Our IT team has been arguing strenuously for the fact that those other options are not viable solutions for a county, an organization of Racine County size, for the complexity of systems that it utilizes and services that it provides. Pro Phoenix, for example, within public safety, that's not a system that is adaptable to a cloud-based solution versus a hyper-converged solution. And Nutanix is precisely that. So I don't want to give any sort of false hope that in the course of doing that, and we can commit to keep the board regularly apprised on the process and the findings from that process, we may very well find ourselves back at the solution, which again weighs heavily in favor of locking in a more long-term solution. This is a marketplace, and Baker Tilly has validated this, that there's considerable trends upwards in terms of the cost of these types of systems, or other types of systems that the county has considered and ruled out. And those trends very rarely, reverse and go downwards. Those trends are likely to continue. There's expected to be some level of tariff-related impacts, where in January of 2026, we're looking at potential 20 to 25% increases on top of where they are right at this moment. And so believe me, we have very thoughtfully and deliberately worked through the alternatives of a temporary solution, and stand by the recommendation that's before you. Now, I posed the question in that memo: what would happen if this authorization is not received on the resolution before us? And it bears noting again that the current Nutanix platform for the Ives Grove and for the Taylor Avenue, the Dennis Cornwolf building data centers, those expire at the end of July 2025. We reached out to Nutanix to try and get a better understanding of, and the county executive used the analogy, is it going to start emitting green smoke and it suddenly just breaks down? It's not far off. These are significant risks and implications of letting these licenses lapse and expire. I outlined those in that memorandum. These are not my own findings. I may, reach some different potentially legal conclusions about them, but I wanted this board to understand fully those implications as represented to us by Nutanix. What I've done also in that memorandum is I've provided copies of the various contract materials in their present form. We've been able to negotiate them to considerably better place than where they originally were. And the only thing that's really missing from the documents that I provided is the actual quotation itself. There's some sensitive information in there that we didn't feel comfortable releasing, but we did provide a detailed pricing breakdown. And what you'll see is that aligns perfectly with the fiscal note that was considered and approved by FHR a few weeks ago. The scope of both the services contract and the lease. The lease refers specifically to the licenses. Nutanix typically is an upfront purchase where all at one time we would be responsible for paying that, 1.5, 1.6, $1.8 million. Given the difficulty of achieving that, particularly on such short order, what we've been able to effect is a leasing option whereby we would lease that license for a 5-year period, and that term ends July 31st of 2030. What I wanted to highlight, and it's in the document both on the lease agreement, but then also on the services contract, is that as relates to services, if we decide after year 3 that, we've identified a viable, cost-effective solution that we would prefer versus a Nutanix, that we have the flexibility where we could terminate that contract and we would not be responsible for paying for those service costs that are laid out in the quotation and in the service agreement. Similarly with the lease agreement, and this is a little bit more gray, but with the lease agreement, we were able to carve out an exception whereby if, again, let's say in year 3, we've identified a viable alternative, entirely cloud-based solution or something different than a hyper-converged solution, that in that event, and really only in that event, we would have the flexibility of terminating that license agreement and not being responsible for payments, provided the county board did not provide authorization in its annual budget to fund those services, and rather authorized some alternative means or infrastructure. So those are just a couple of the key points that I understand were raised at the committee level. Some of the pain points that we've been trying to work through, some of the pain points that we've been discussing on a daily basis, seemingly, and exhaustively, both with IT and Baker Tilly, and feel comfortable in making this recommendation before you this evening. So any questions on that, I'm happy to address it. Any more technical questions on the platform itself will probably be best addressed by IT. Thank you.
Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I feel comfortable with Nutanix, given that they're the incumbents, and I think we've been happy with their service. But given that they're the incumbents, and we know that the current contract was going to expire next week on July 31st, and maybe I missed it in the description that was just given, but why such a compressed timeline? I guess, why wasn't this part of last year's budget for this year? And why not more time for, I guess, an RFP process that, where we got information sooner than yesterday? It looks like we just got this proposal from AE Capital. It just doesn't really give us a lot of time.
A couple of things that I can address, and then should you, Dave, feel free to expand on anything else. The proposal that you're referring to, that's just the most recent one. There has been considerable back and forth in trying to refine the quotations and trying to refine some of those contract documents. But their initial proposal, I believe, was back in May that they made proposal. There are 3 different vendors, partners, who provide the Nutanix platform. CDW, our current vendor, is one of them. Capital Data is another. And then AE Business Solutions is the third. Quotes were solicited through the Nutanix rep of each of those 3 entities. And we then receive those and then work to refine to ensure that they meet our needs. There's no getting around the fact that we wish this had been done considerably sooner and had been done part of the 2025 budget process. we feel more confident that we would have reached that same conclusion than we are here today. We've compressed, months of work into about a 2-week process just on our end. That's setting aside entirely the lengthy due diligence that was performed by the IT department. But in terms of the transparency, the communication to the board, that's pledged to do better.
So what, if I could just add a little more onto that, being an ex-state purchasing agent, the state has an IT contract with numerous things on it. I mean, pages and pages. This is on the bidding part of this was done at the state level where municipalities can piggyback onto it. And these were the 3 vendors on the state contract that handle the neutronics product that we need. So it's
Okay,
the bidding process was done by the state. So it came through VendorNet. If you're familiar with, okay, all right.
Yep, that's.
I just wanted to clear that up. So
Yeah, that explains a lot. So we didn't conduct our own RFP process. We just used the state.
we
procurement
piggybacked
contracts
on the states.
just through VendorNet. Okay, that makes sense. But then, is it common even with that process, is it common to keep going back for different prices? Because typically the bidding process is you put out your specs and you get the bids back, and whatever the bids are, they only get that one chance, right? You can't renegotiate because then you don't get people giving the original bids in good faith.
And what this isn't like a commodity, like paper. There's a contract on VendorNet for paper, and
right.
It's so much a box, so much of 48s, 96, depending on how many cartons of paper you want to buy. With computer and this level of servers and systems that run servers and data systems, it's kind of you got to put your specs in and that then it goes through, and then there's some negotiation based on, do you want to lease it? Do you want 3 years? Do you want 1 year? And then you make your decision based on what you get back. And I wasn't part of this process, but I just knew how. That's about all I can say about how you could do that with computer and IT stuff that, like paper or a pickup truck or something like that, that's on the state, VendorNet is one price fits all, basically.
So I can add a little more clarification to that. So in IT, we have something called deal registration. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So basically, deal registration is a process where channel sales create alignment and incentives between the vendor, so Nutanix, and its resellers or vendors, so AE Business Solutions, CDW, Capital Data, right? And it's mostly done to protect the opportunity. So there's no price wars. So if one vendor, CDW, for example, since they're our incumbent, if they enter the bid into the system, right, no other vendor is able to provide a competitive quote for that particular sale of Nutanix. They might be able to offer alternatives like VMware or some other solution, but based on the cost of migrating, it really wouldn't make sense because the cost would be astronomical. So it's really, deal registration is a thing in technology where, like I said, it preserves the vendor and the client. And by having deal registration, what happens is that the vendor, so CDW, AE, they are able to offer us discounts that other vendors wouldn't be able to because they are the sole provider of that system to us as Racine County, the client.
Okay, thanks.
Supervisor Secure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. Afterwards, I just got, comments here. First of all, this situation is of high concern, and I appreciate coming from corporate counsel, the 13-page document that we got. But my big concern is moving forward, what are we gonna do? I mean, it was mentioned that 3 years, after 3 years, we could cancel it and terminate and go somewhere else. But how can we avoid this moving down the future? And what are we gonna do right now?
Right. So currently, first I want to apologize that we brought this to you so late in the game. It really was an internal failure on our part, and we're in the process of rectifying that. This 5-year agreement that I present to you tonight is really months and months of negotiation, due diligence, looking at alternatives, the cost for the alternatives as well. This 5-year contract will give us a long runway to determine if Nutanix is a viable solution 5 years from now. It was 3 years ago when we purchased it. It continues to be a viable solution today. But this long runway will give us an opportunity to evaluate moving forward if Nutanix is the best option for the county.
Okay, you'll keep us posted, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we've had some discussions, the county executive and myself, uh, Vice Chairman Meyer also was in them, that the, you know, to change something like this, just when, after you've decided, is a year and a half to do this. That gives us about 3 years to take a look at this and see how the system works with our programs. I mean, it's way above my IT prowess. But you think of it like, what do we need to do with Highway C? And we have to plan, finance, engineer. And that's kind of the same thing. You've got to take a look at what you need to do and figure out what'll work for you. And that's kind of what this next 3 years is for. And if we need to upgrade or change systems, then those last 2 years is to migrate our systems over to that, which I can't imagine being an easy task, so
And
that's how I understand it. Am I correct?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct.
And what I think I can add on to what the county board chair said is it's a lengthy process. And the pledge is to, not wait until the cake is baked and to then present and seek approval for it, but to be more proactive, engaging with the county board in working through that process. Again, we may very well land in exactly the same point, but minimally, by doing that, the county board would not only feel greater part of the process, but they truly would be more of the process and would have opportunity to ask questions and to probe on a particular issue. Again, not at the 11th hour, but in the third, fourth hour as we're working through this. So it provides a greater, longer runway to go through that process. And again, the pledge is to be more proactive and engaging with the county board, likely through finance and human resources, as it has jurisdiction over IT and working through some of those future budget issues.
Thank you.
Supervisor Rossi.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to clarify something, and correct me if I'm wrong. The RFP process is different than when negotiations started with A&E. The RFP was very recent, end of June, because I've heard there were months spent on this process, but the RFP was much later. Is that accurate?
So the RFP, you're referring to the state contract when we received the quotes?
Yes.
Yes, because we were in negotiations with Nutanix to determine what we're going to need license-wise, especially what we are going to need in terms of the growth that the county is experiencing, the public safety data that keeps growing. So those negotiations and that scoping took much longer, even though we received the quotes at end of May.
But that you were doing that with A&E?
We were working with Nutanix as well as A&E, CAP Data, and CDW.
Okay. Interesting. CDW is not on board with what you just said. And I've got some written statements on that, but we'll leave that alone for now. Have you investigated any other short-term extensions with Nutanix to bridge a service gap?
So we have evaluated 1-year contracts. They offer 1-year, 3-year, and 5-year. So we did take a look at the 1-year. It's just not cost effective. And as pointed out, just coming up with an alternative solution could take longer than 1 year. So in 1 year, we would still be at this position.
Interesting.
And that's something I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's something I just want to point out that Baker Tilly specifically addressed that issue. That was one of the very first questions that they had, is recognizing that, well, only 2 of these nodes are set to expire at the end of July of 2025. The others don't expire until mid 2026. Is there a short-term solution whereby we could essentially bridge that gap? And that's what Shuchi is referring to in that 1-year solution. But what Baker Tilly ultimately validated is that given the difference in licensing, given the public safety project and the heightened risk of taking that and moving that to another location while they're on these disparate licenses, is that would present a considerable risk and likely a future considerably increased cost to the county.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to Corporation Council on this one, and then the county executive, because I know you guys have been doing a lot of work in a very short period of time to investigate something that should have been investigated by others much sooner. I'm going to make a statement now and just forego the rest of my nitpicking here. This process has left the county board with no viable alternative options to save money. We are told we have no time. Like the sales tax, we are again put in the position of approve this measure or be responsible for operational failure. This is unacceptable. The bid RFP activity appears to have occurred after a preferred vendor is already courted, gutting the value of competition. The information delivered to the board by the IT director has been inadequate, inaccurate, and frustrating. The vendor has confirmed inaccuracies in writing in the documents presented to FHR, claiming lack of vendor interest in providing certain pricing. This is a serious concern. Compressing the timeline until licenses are about to lapse is a self-inflicted emergency, not a justification for a rushed contract. I cannot believe there are no other alternative options or ways to extend this timeline for us to make an informed decision on a proper process, and therefore I cannot vote to lock us into a rushed contract. We owe the taxpayers better than a manufactured pass or catastrophe choice. Thank you.
Supervisor Kolb.
Hard to follow up. I just got a couple of questions on the yearly support breakdown. Do you have usually like how many hours you use in the quote? Because you go from 784 hours to 1,572. Is there changes coming? Because there's a big jump in the support breakdown between years 1 and 2. Usually most of your support comes in your first years. So why is there such a massive increase?
Yep, so the first year from August to December, the costs or the hours are 784, and that's just to basically do discovery and scoping of the new public safety building. The hours then from January to July are considerably a little bit higher because that's when we're going to start doing the move, right, from the data center that's at dispatch currently. So the hours for this year are just kind of discovery to figure out what we're going to need to do, planning sessions. And then you'll notice in year 2, then August to December is when the hours really ramp up because that's when we're really going to need support and engineering hours to really help move the data center, help reconfigure everything because 50% of our infrastructure is located here at the substation. To reconfigure everything with the engineers and ensure that everything is functional as it should. There's no data loss, there's nothing. And then once the project is complete in 16 to 18 months, shifting all that back to the new public safety building, redoing the configuration, testing everything. So the hours are limited for 2025 just for discovery.
One other point that I think is really important to make is earlier in a different context, I referred to a not to exceed for any future year beyond the initial 5-year term. There's separately another really critical not to exceed for the board to understand as it relates to the support hours. Those numbers that are broken out each year, those are not to exceed numbers. And so we may very well find and the numbers were populated based on reasonable estimates of the support that we would need. But it's entirely possible that in any given year, the actual support hours may be less, maybe considerably less than what's outlined there. But it's a not to exceed number. And so in the event we don't hit that number, it carries over into the next year. In the event we terminate before the end of the 5-year term, or we have unused hours at the end of the term, we don't spend that money just because it's built into our budget. Those are not to exceed numbers. So just
Yep.
another distinction I wanted to make.
Yeah, we're actually just being billed for support on time and material. So whatever we use, that's what they're billing us on a monthly basis.
Is this within pretty close on budget from the 2025 budget? What was budgeted, or is there going to be an increase with this new contract?
There's going to be an increase because we are changing licensing structure. So we are going with a more robust licensing structure, which then needs more CPU processing power. So one of the advantages of moving to this different enterprise universal level licensing is that it provides us the ability, since we have to move the data center starting in January of 2026, the ability to use those licenses flexibly within the Nutanix environment. So they're not device specific where this license has to be licensed to this particular device in Nutanix. It provides that flexibility that we need to move the data center. So the cost, because of that, also increases.
Any further questions? Comments? This is a roll call vote. It's a two-thirds majority. So
First, we'll have to check in though.
check in, yep. Supervisor Horace, aim it over towards us. Oh, you got it. All right. Very good.
Supervisor Coleman, how do you vote?
No.
Supervisor Hoffman, how do you vote? We will record as you indicate. Okay, thank you. So that motion passes 15 yeses, 4 noes. Just a moment, we have to capture that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 13, reconsideration of resolutions and ordinance from previous meetings and or actions on vetoes.
There are no items.
Item number 14, reconsideration of and or notice of intent to reconsider resolutions and ordinances.
There is no notice.
Item number 15, informational reports.
Report number 2025-28 by Finance and Human Resources Committee submitting the Racine County 2025 bi-monthly large capital projects report And report number 2025-29 by Finance and Human Resources Committee announcing the distribution of sales and use tax revenue for June of 2025.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on this last report of the sales tax, I think it might behoove us for some, if just there's some comment that even though, for example, the April results show $380, there is a huge lag in how sales tax gets reported to the state. I know the acting finance director has more information on that, and maybe some other staff, but I don't want supervisors to think that that was the normal amount that we'd be getting in a month.
Right. And Supervisor Rossi can chime in because him and I have been talking about this, and Byron. Basically, we started collecting in April, May, June. Take, for instance, quarterly filers need to pay by July 31st, which will be the payment in August. So when County Executive Malicki talks about, we won't have a real good understanding about what a county, what a quarter can bring. We're talking out to, August 20th is about when we'll know what really hits. Now, there's other filers a long time, and if you take a look at the historic past years, you can see the bump in that, fourth month or the month after the quarter ends because of the quarterly filers. Byron, anything else to add, or?
The numbers came in. I don't think it's reflected on the report. I think the last time you guys were like $1.3 million in June. Is that right? So for July, 2.25, about $2.25 million has come in. And August should be really telling. In my opinion, August should shed a lot of light on where we're going to most likely end for the year. Supervisor Rossi was doing a lot of projections, and Travis has done a lot of work on it too. So just sit tight for one more month to kind of see where things land then. And I think they'll, again, shed a lot of light on where things should end up at the end of the year. So it helps because we do have data from other counties. So relative to the other counties, we can see seasonality from month to month. Things kind of move up and down together across the counties. That's why I said it should shed a lot of light on where things are going to end up after one more month of data comes in, which should be, not too long. But the trend is good. It's very encouraging. 2.25 puts us above where Kenosha was for July. And I think hopefully we bump up above some other counties too, but we have to wait and see. So.
And Byron, just one other thing to add on that, and you, Travis, and probably Supervisor Rossi would be better positioned to speak to this, but that separate trend of what we looked at was other counties that have recently enacted a county sales tax, that they went through similar trends,
for sure.
where those first couple of months are markedly lower. And so this is a practice that's wholly consistent with what we've seen from other counties who have recently implemented a sales tax.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I've noticed is it starts to kind of normalize by that 5th and 6th month. And so I think we have 4 right now.
Supervisor Wishaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I have two things. One, I just want to thank Supervisor Rossi for his due diligence and information that he brings to this board. This board, this district, and this county are very fortunate to have him at this table. Next, this is a question regarding the YDCC. Just looking at the numbers here, the budget was 52,000,007. And the projection has gone up almost 1.2. Can we potentially expand on why that number has gone up as large as it has? Whoever can answer that question.
Yeah, I think in partnership with Michael, we can help answer the question. These were anticipated increases. And prior to maternity leave, Gwen had identified the source of how we would pay for that. And that will be through underspending in other capital areas that we will transfer and to cover that. So we've known this expense for, I don't know, I would say 3 to 4 months at least. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's reflected in prior large capital. I mean, we've only been doing the large capital reports for a short period of time, but there were prior increases that were reflected in the earlier report. There's been communications with some board leadership over time as we were tracking these. These were not last minute things that came to light. They were things that were known for, a matter of months, and working with finance, identifying those alternative sources of funding where we have underspent in other capital areas. And so that will be reported out once that process is finalized in detail per our county ordinance, where those itemized details are provided, but it's something that's been tracked closely for a period.
Yeah, just for the sake of refreshing everybody's memory, what were those?
What were the expenses?
Yes.
Oh, geez.
I don't know that you can identify, even a small number. Examples are, this is a DOC facility where it's licensed or regulated under DOC rules. There's a new DOC rule that was created specifically for secured residential centers for children and youth. And so we've been working very closely with DOC throughout the design process. Fairly well into that process, there were some items that were pointed out very late in the game that were, increased costs, glass, types of glass, and where certain types of glass were located that were different when we had originally gone through DOC. And so that resulted in pretty significant increases in costs that we needed to reckon with. And that was well after we came to the board for that additional funding. So exhaustive efforts have been made to try and neutralize those. Gilbane has taken on significant costs from the county. The architects have taken on additional costs, but unfortunately, we're not able to extinguish or minimize all of those costs. Those were added on over a period of time, but I can't identify a short list of this is what you can attribute those cost increases to.
Not on the spot, at least. I'd be happy to work with the team and get a list for you of those expenses.
Yeah, that'd be great. If we could send that out to the full board, I think that'd be
Yep,
very
not a problem.
Yeah, if you could share that with all the board members.
Happy
Yeah.
to.
And one other thing that bears mentioning is, like any project, there are lessons learned. And one of the difficult challenges that the county has realized is, there's 4 or 5 once in a career lifetime projects that seemingly were overlapping and happening at the same time, the YDCC being the first of those. One of the lessons that we learned in the course of that process is, building out an appropriate team that can go through and review and ensure that we're, minimizing costs, ensuring that things are designed appropriately. So we've built in some safeguards with the team for the public safety building, with the behavioral health building. For example, there's additional oversight coming from a third party that's checking those designs to ensure that we're realizing savings where possible, that we're not going to run into unintended consequences down the road or change orders. That's one safeguard that's been implemented with those 2 projects. And also, you met this evening, the project managers are essentially our owners' representatives that are working on these projects, rather than just having the county core team, the architects, and the construction manager. Along with the contractors, we built in that additional element of having an owner's representative, something that in hindsight, I think we would have benefited from with the YDCC, but something that we've taken that lesson learned and implemented it with these 2 other significant projects. But we can absolutely get those details and share those with the full board.
Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to give a shout out to the county executive for initiating this type of report, which helps us all, I think, be more accountable to the taxpayer.
Supervisor Coleman. You have your hand up?
Hi. I was just wondering, like, if we can make it a thing. How do we go about really making it a thing about seeing the ROI on the return, especially for the youth center and things of that nature? I know that might be more so in health and human services, but you know, I think I can speak for a lot of us when we want to see the numbers, because it's like, oh, we did this, we went about doing this way, but we want to make sure that it's really working and the ROA is coming back the way it should. So what can we do so that we don't have to wait if we ask a question for, because it's apparent we want to see numbers.
So
So
yeah, I'm sorry, Supervisor Coleman, do you mean in terms of return on investment in proceeding with the construction of the building and the programming that we're doing?
overall, everything. Now that you guys are up and operating and things like that, and seeing what's really going on since it is new,
Mhm.
we want to see everything. Well, I want to see everything. I'll speak for me.
If
How
I could just,
you know?
Supervisor
Me-
Coleman, this is Corporation Counsel Lansdorf. I just wanted to chime in before Hope addresses. I think it's okay for Hope to just, respond in very general terms, but we haven't noticed a separate discussion about the issue that you're speaking to outside of the actual capital expenditures. And so that would be deserving of a separate notice for perhaps a Health and Human Development meeting, or certainly in the budget process. I am sure that that will be an issue, but I'm leery of potentially running afoul inadvertently. That's certainly not your intention, I'm sure, Supervisor Coleman.
No. That's not where I'm going. I'm just saying, like, just going forward, because y'all know that we really like to see numbers, and it's like if we ask a question, like, we want to know that it'll be able to get answered. But I kind of figured that that's more of a Health and Human Service Committee issue for us anyway. But I was just putting it out there. But no drama intended. No drama intended.
So I will be going through some of those key budget drivers at my public hearing. And so we'll go through probably what you're looking for, but we can and certainly, use that form to address any additional questions that you would have.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further comments or questions? Supervisor.
Thank you, Chairman. The county executive graced us with some additional
Gotta do
fare
that.
tickets. So if anybody needs, any supervisors need some additional fare tickets, thank you to the county executive for having some additional tickets to hand out. So I'll see you, Chairman Kramer and myself, after the meeting.
So anybody else have any miscellaneous business announcements or all reports? Just. Clerk.
I just want to remind the majority of the county board supervisors, you need to do your IT quarterly training, because I get the updated reports from our IT area. And there's a lot of work that still needs to be done before the end of the month so you can access your system.
So those of us that needs to do it, majority you say? All righty. Any further?
Wait.
Well, Supervisor Caprellian.
Sorry, no, just really quick. Government services, as of right now, it doesn't look like we're going to be meeting in August, but I will be gone for the most part of August. If there is some communications, look for me thank you so much, for the clerk's office or for the vice chair of that committee, Supervisor Trottier. So thank you.
Supervisor. Thank you. We are adjourned.